Hey folks, it is Vince the Evil DM. We're back with another episode of Railguns and Dragons. Hopefully you're enjoying the series as we're going further and further and diving into things more and more. I will continue with the High Seas book, getting more into that because there is one more class in that book that I did not go over. It is an OC, a non-player class actually, the Alchemist, and there's also some stuff in there that's pretty interesting to go over as well. So we will continue with the High Seas book per request of a couple people in the video, and that emailed me as well that they wanted to see more. Anyway, today I wanted to sit down and talk about, because I just did a video on Friday of last week about what do I need to get started books wise, and I thought it was a good video. Some people liked it. Some of the people said that I forgot book 2, the old ones. I don't really use that book, so it kind of slipped my mind, and I do apologize. I probably should have recommended that because it does have some classes in there you can use and some good information in there you can use, but I never really used that book, so again, that was just my opinion of what I thought you would need just to get started to play. So hopefully it was taken with a grain of salt, and people enjoyed the video for what it's worth. Just a little help for those people out there that are new, that want to play 1E fantasy as opposed to the new 2E fantasy. But anyway, this week I wanted to talk about a little bit different, something a little bit different here on the channel, and talk a little bit about expectations with Palladium games. A lot of people come into Palladium games from D&D, for example, whether it's old school, new school, whatever, or other games where experience points are handed out based upon combat and things like that. Well, Palladium games are different. They reward you more so for doing other things other than combat, such as using your skills in a successful or clever way, such as doing a clever action, or coming up with a clever idea how to get out of a situation of combat, possibly using quick thinking, a critical plan that saves somebody's lives, maybe something that saves a bunch of people's lives without actually going through a combat. Now, killing combat, yeah, you get experience points for that, and most fantasy games are based on combat experience. Now, if we take a look at the book, let me just get to that for you. And as we can see here is what Palladium Fantasy 1E in the revised book from 92 shows what it is, and it hasn't changed much. 25 experience points for performing a skill, successful or not. Clever but futile idea, 25, 100 for clever idea, useful action, quick thinking. But if we keep going down the list, notice how a lot of these things are based on things that you're doing or endangering your own life or putting yourself in a situation that could help. Get that a little bit bigger. There we go. Notice at the very bottom there is killing or subduing a minor menace, 25 to 50 experience points, 75 to 100 for killing or subduing a major menace, and 150 to 300 for killing or subduing a great menace. So if you have a strictly combat-based expectation and just want combat because you think that's going to level you up, it's not really going to work out for you. Mostly in Palladium games, you don't level up fast. It's a slow level up type game. That's only why there's so many levels for each class listed here, and it's not like D&D when it just keeps going and going and going and going, because you can keep going and going in D&D, but even D&D sometimes can be a slow burn for XP depending on the GM. But here, it really isn't, and I just wanted to do a small video on expressing that when you get into Palladium games, don't expect a lot of experience or to get a lot of levels fast. And that may have been some expectations for some people I played with, and I had to explain to them that you don't level up that quickly. Now, sure, you as a GM can do whatever the hell you want to do with your campaign. If you want to level people up quickly, by all means, give out whatever you want for experience. They also recommend that you have a checklist when you do experience for players to get certain amounts of experience that are separate from others as well. And a lot of GMs in the community do that. They have an Excel spreadsheet or something on a clipboard next to them, and as things happen, they just put a little check mark next to that category for that player to remember to reward them that amount of experience. Is it good to do that? Yeah, sure. If you like bookkeeping, I don't mind doing that. I generally just try to give everybody the same amount of experience and then reward others for certain things depending on the game we're playing. Now we're playing fantasy, and the group wanted a fast-paced leveling up, so I decided to do that for them. So they're already level 3, and we've only played for, I don't know, a couple months or so, and they're enjoying it. So, as long as you and the players are having fun, and you as the GM can keep up with the level powering up, then I don't see a problem with how you do this. But I wanted to show you the chart here, and I wanted to also show you the Rift's Ultimate Guide, which is the most up-to-date thing for Palladium, for Rifts. This is what basically combat is, again, only going to be giving you a certain amount of points, regardless of what you do. Most of Palladium experience is based upon doing certain things with your character in a clever way. And here in Rifts, the more updated, which is currently the Ultimate Edition, which I will get into later on for people out there that enjoy Rifts. I'm getting back into the Rifts mood, want to get one of those games going again as well for my channel. But here shows the experience chart that you would have for a typical Rifts game. And again, most GMs in the community have little checklists. Some people just, give it to the group. It really depends on your GM style when you're doing this. So just go into it thinking that way, and make sure you tell your players that aren't used to Palladium games, and maybe they're D&D players, that experience isn't really based on combat. Though you can get experience for if you just have constant combat. Obviously, as you see here, there are experience points for constant combat, but they encourage other things such as reasoning and role-playing and giving experience points for that, which some players like and some players don't like. I personally, as a GM, like more role-playing and more investigation and more actions of characters than combat. I, as a GM, don't mind combat, but I find combat with a larger group very boring. And I'm not much of a combat GM, and my players will tell you that I will have minimal combats in a lot of things, and there'll be times we'll go through an entire session and all they did was investigate. Because investigation gains you the points in the game, and that's where I'm trying to drive it that way so they can find something. Me personally, I find it utterly boring to just sit there and just fight something for 2 hours and then move on to something else and fight something for 2 hours, and that's just not fun for me at all. Again, you have to strike a balance between everything as a GM and a player. So it's really up to your style, but you have to tell your group ahead of time, and most groups, will know your style by the time they play with you a few times. And as long as you're upfront with it when they're making characters and they know that what the Palladium system is all about and how you're going to run your game with a bunch of intrigue, investigation, and some minor combat, at least they know ahead of time. But again, these are the experience charts you need to look at and remind them, and you can even show your players these things so they know what they're getting for each game. So that's what I wanted to say. My little, let's talk about experience points and what expectations to set when you're going for Palladium games. It's a little bit of a shorter video than normal. Maybe not. I don't know. I think it's going around 10 minutes or so. But I enjoy Palladium systems for this particular reason, and that it's not a combat-heavy focus game. Well, it can be if you really want it to be. But a lot of the game is consistent of investigation and role-playing and figuring ways to do things as opposed to just thrusting your sword into something or shooting your gun at some guy's head. I mean, shooting a gun at someone's head that's annoying you is fun, but after a while, it's just like, yawn, boom, big deal. Anyway, tell me your thoughts, how you run your games and how you hand out experience in your games. Again, no way to do it is wrong. Every way is unique to you and your players. I should say nothing is ever wrong. However you handle it, as long as you and your group are having fun, that's the point. But I just wanted to give a video, show you the charts, set the expectations to some people out there, and let them know the Palladium games is a certain way. It's built around a certain system. So when they go into it, they know this. With that said, I'm going to head out. Keep it original, keep it old school. Good night, everybody.